Welcome to today's discussion on last part of registration. Over the last two classes, we have been discussing about registration in a very detailed way. No doubt, and an important topic. How much ever we read, it's important, worth the time spent. Definitely, we'll have an exam question. All that is being can be, all this can be understood by somebody. Now, coming back here, coming back here. Getting into a very specific discussion apart from the procedural aspects associated with it, a special procedure, special compliance which need to be done by a particular person called as casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. Section 27 comes out and discuss that a casual taxable person or a non-resident taxable person, these two people has to get themselves registered 5 days before commencement of their business. 5 days before commencement of business, these two people, casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. Let me remind it. I think we have already discussed these two terms called as casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. Nevertheless, we will discuss it once again. Casual taxable person is a person who occasionally undertakes a business or a commercial transaction in a state where he is not having a fixed establishment. One of the prerequisites to be a casual taxable person is in that state he should not have office. Let me repeat. If he already has the office in that state, I don't think so you can call him as casual taxable person. He has to get himself registered as a normal person. He is a person belongs to Andhra Pradesh. He want to participate in a trade fair. For that, he comes into this state and makes an application to get a stall in the trade fair. He got a stall in the trade fair, which we call it as allotment of stall letter, stall allotment letter. Once he has a stall allotment letter, he'll make an application towards registration saying that in case of casual taxable person, he will have PAN number and all. In fact, he is registered in another state. In Andhra Pradesh, he is a registered person doing a big business. He also want to do some small time businesses in another state. For that reason, he steps in. A point to be noted. A point to be noted here is in case of casual taxable person or in case of your non-resident taxable person, certain basic aspects that are to be taken up, certain basic aspects that to be considered over here is this casual taxable person who is not having an office in that state. That is, we are taking an example of Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, he is not having a he's in Tamil Nadu, he is not having a in Tamil Nadu, he is not having a fixed place of business. He is not having a fixed establishment. But he want to make a sale in Tamil Nadu, then he will get himself registered as a casual taxable person. He'll give his information as Andhra Pradesh person. He'll give the registration reference of Andhra Pradesh registration. Based on this discussion, 5 days before the business commencement, he can make an application and he can get his registration done. Same process, but this time the fellow who want to participate in the trade fair, the fellow who want to come and do businesses is a person comes from outside India. Non-resident taxable person is a person who occasionally undertake business or commercial transactions, who does not have a place of residence or, look at that word, place of residence or fixed business establishment in India. See, even if he has a residence in India, he cannot be treated as a non-resident taxable person. So he should not have a residence in India. He should not have a office in India. Then he'll be treated as non-resident taxable. So understand these people are alone treated as non-resident taxable person or casual taxable person. I think we have taken up this discussion earlier. Uh, we should have taken up this discussion. What will happen to a cracker seller? Can somebody confirm me through chat box that have we discussed about cracker sellers who come out and sell only during periodical days? What kind of registration they will make? Have we discussed about a person who is in the cracker business? Have we in the last class anything? Last but class. Hmm. Okay. In case if we have not discussed, good. In case if we have not discussed, I'll ask you one question. Um, a very famous festival is uh, Diwali. A very famous festival is Diwali. Um, just take up a situation for the purposes of Diwali. Various people have at least for 15 days all those shops which sell temporary shops which sell fireworks. Let me repeat: all those shop, all those shop which sell firework are temporarily opened. Now, if you carefully note, this is what is our experience in India. Maybe we'll have a small budget to buy those crackers. We'll get into a shop. That shop itself will be a temporary shop. It will be put on some empty land, or existing shop will be there. They'll have a nearby land area. There they will put something like that. Or some vacant land will be there. Today this is a fashion. A vacant land will be there. There they'll put some 10 stalls, 12 stalls, multiple areas, whatnot. Now the question before us is all those firework shop, all those firework shop which sell crackers during Diwali. Now, my question is this: they sell only during that 15 days. After that, they'll pack up. Now, what kind of registration they should take? Should they need to take normal registration, or they need to take casual taxable registration, or they need to take non-resident taxable person registration? What kind of registration they should take? They are all shops which comes only for that 15 days, 20 days. Yes. What kind of registration they have to take? Now, a lot of you have answered. Good. Consciously, I'm not highlighting the name. Uh, I would recommend all of you to go and read the definition of the term casual taxable and come back. In whatever mode you have been using, the material is already with you. Go to a definition of the term casual taxable person, read it, come back, and go back to my question and answer it once again. So non-resident, sorry, Rajagopal. Okay. No, go back. If you have people who have answered, you all know. Now you go back, read it once and come back. See, அதாவது வேணும்ட்டேன்னு நாங்க ஒரு ட்ராப் கிரியேட் பண்றோம் எக்ஸாம் சிச்சுவேஷன்ல. ஒரு ஒரு சிச்சுவேஷனை சொல்லி அந்த சிச்சுவேஷனை பத்தி நிறைய பேசி ஒரு ட்ராப் கிரியேட் பண்ணுவோம். கரெக்டா பொத்து 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 பொத்துன்னு அந்த ட்ராப்ல விழுந்துட்டு மத்தவங்களை குறைய சொல்லக்கூடாது. Just because we are discussing casual taxable person, just because we are discussing normal non-resident taxable person, we should not forget our fundamentals. That is what I've been highlighting. Go back. Every shop, just for your information, every cracker shop has to get a firework license. Every cracker shop should get a license from fire services, could get a clearance from police. Now, police will give a clearance only if you are registered in that state. Fireworks will give a clearance. Firework license will be given by factories authority or shop selling authority to sell shop, provided you are that state person. So, never a cracker shop can be opened by a person from another state. He cannot come and put up a stall. I only see that itself is not possible. In my view, what may be possible is something like a what is a some trade like trade fair. They are going to have a cracker fair. Maybe there they can try, because these are all explosives. When it comes to explosives, generally they will not allow unnecessary interstate movement of these items. So why I want to highlight here is just because a cracker shop is being there, or the cracker shop has a shelf life of only 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks time tenure, it doesn't mean that he has to be a casual taxable person. Let me repeat it. Because that person is having an office, or that person has a house in that state, they have to, though let them do business only for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, or whatever time tenure, they have to be registered themselves as a normal registration. A few of you got it right after the fag end of this discussion. Understand, this is what it makes it more understand. This is what it makes more interesting at all here in this topic. Normally, this activity would be treated as a normal registration activity. Only thing is, this fellow has a seasonal sale. Understand in this way. He has a seasonal sale. He will be registered like any other person. For the other 6 or 8 months, he might file a nil return. Only for that 4 months, or even for that 3 months alone, he will make some sales where it's a seasonal sale. For sugar industry, we have a seasonal sale. 6 months only sugar industry will work. Why? Because harvest is 6 months once. கரும்பு எல்லாத்தையும் வாங்கிட்டாங்கன்னு நினைச்சுக்கோங்களேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் இருக்கிற கரும்பை வச்சு ஓட்டுவாங்க. திருப்பி ப்ரொடியூஸ் ஆகி கரும்பு திருப்பி வரதுக்கு 6 மாசம் ஆகும். So those 6 months, 50% wage will be paid to everybody, and sugar is a cycle of 6 months, 6 months. Thanks, today we import sometime and we process it. Today sugar factories do other activities. So why I'm highlighting all this is, it's a possibility that there will be seasonal sales. Here you have discussed an example of a seasonal sale. Just because cracker shop is available for 3 weeks, don't come out and conclude casual taxable person. Never a cracker firework selling firework shop or a cracker shop be registered as a casual taxable person. Nothing is possible. So come back here. One of the prerequisites of casual taxable person, let me repeat it again. Prerequisite of casual taxable person, he should not have an office in that state. Again, this time a casual tax, this time a person from foreign country comes, then we will call him as non-resident taxable person. That non-resident taxable person also should not have a residence or a fixed place of establishment in India. If we have a residence or a fixed place of establishment in India, he cannot be treated as a non-resident taxable person. Post this discussion of casual taxable person discussion, I'll take you through another discussion, which will be a non-resident Indian has a commercial property of 3 floors in Mumbai. Sorry. The same was given in rent to a software company in Mumbai during the financial year 1920. The rent paid by the company was rupees 18 lakhs, and the rent for the year for the financial year 2021 is about to be rupees 24 lakhs. The NRI has a doubt whether he is liable to get himself registered under GST. So your question is like this. NRA has a commercial property of 3 floors in Bombay. The same was given on rent to a software company in Bombay. During the financial year 1920, the rent paid by the company was 18 lakhs. And the rent for the financial year 2020 is about to be rupees 24 lakhs. The NRI has a doubt whether he is liable to get himself registered. Now, stay there. As whether he has to get himself registered. Also, under what category under what category of registration? All of you will say yes, he has to get registered. As what? Normal registration or casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. He has to get himself registered under normal registration or casual taxable person or under non-resident taxable person registration. Krishna, check your answer. Karthikeyan, check your answer. Whomever I'm saying, or all of you, if you want, fixed establishment அப்படின்னு ஒரு டெஃபினிஷன் இருக்கு. ஓகே, எங்க சார் இருக்குன்னா பிளேஸ் ஆஃப் சப்ளை அப்படின்ற டாபிக் ஸ்லைட்ஸ் வருது பாத்தீங்களா, அதுக்கு முன்னாடி இருக்கணும். அப்படி இல்லை அப்படின்னா ஃபிக்ஸ்ட் எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்ட், ஐஜிஎஸ்டி ஆக்ட்ல கொஞ்சம் கூகுள் பண்ணுங்க. கூகுள் பண்ணி அந்த ஃபிக்ஸ்ட் எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்ட்டோட டெஃபினிஷனை படிங்க. ஐஜிஎஸ்டி ஆக்ட்ல இருக்கு செக்ஷன் 2. ஒரே ஒரு நிமிஷம். Section 2, subsection 7. Fixed establishment means a place other than the registered place of business, which is characterized by a sufficient degree of permanence and sustainable structures in terms of human, technical resource to supply services or to receive and use for its own needs. Suresh Kumar, check your answer. Yes. Yes. I'm sure a lot of you would have got it right. He has to get himself registered. If he has a property in Bombay, he has to get himself registered as a normal person. Sir, he is in foreign country, non-resident. இல்ல பாருங்களேன், உங்க இன்கம் டேக்ஸ்க்கு என்ன ஸ்டேட்டஸ்லாம் நான் கேட்கல. இன்கம் டேக்ஸ்க்கு நான் ரெசிடென்ட் தான், அதெல்லாம் ரைட்டு. கம் பேக் டு யுவர் டிஸ்கஷன்ஸ் ஆன் திஸ். When it comes to a discussion like this, non-resident taxable person means somebody who is engaged in supply of goods or services occasionally and who does not have a fixed place of establishment or residence in India. This fellow has 3-floor building which is standing in India. Then how he can say he does not have a fixed establishment in India? இது இப்போ ஒரு 3-floor building fixed establishment இல்லைன்னா வேற என்னது fixed establishment? So he has to get himself registered only as a normal registration, normal person. அதாவது 22ல தான் he'll get covered. So to put it in a different way, for the year 1920, a lot of you never addressed it because a lot of you concentrated on the second part of the question. Probably you have to say, as data are all available, for the financial year 18-19, he will not be liable as his turnover is less than 20 lakhs. For the year 1920, he is not liable as his turnover is less than 20 lakhs. For the financial year 2021, he is liable to pay GST as his turnover is more than your normal threshold. So this sums up your discussion relating to section 27. To start with, on two important words: casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person. Rest all you all know. That's all summary points, finalizing points only. Casual taxable person or normal non-resident taxable person has to make application 5 days before the registry, 5 days before commencement of business. Minimum 5 days before commencement of business, they have to make registration. Agreed. They made registration 5 days before commencement of business. But very interesting to note, let them make 5 days before commencement of business. The registration issued by a casual taxable person or issued for a casual taxable person is valid for a period of 90 days. Let me repeat. Valid for a period of maximum 90 days. அதாவது maximum a casual taxable person எவ்வளவு நாளைக்கு சார் கொடுக்கலாம், ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன் கொடுக்கலாம்? because understand all the registrations given to casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person are temporary registration. They are not final registration. They are all are temporary registration, and a maximum of 90 days. Let me repeat it. A period requested by the assessee or 90 days, whichever is less. Let me repeat it. Understand in this way. If the assessee requested give me 15 days time, then 15 days only will be given. Period requested by the assessee or 90 days, whichever is less, yes, that will be the period of registration. அதாவது registration certificate கொடுக்கும் போதே registration is valid from, registration is valid to அப்படின்னு போட்டு கொடுப்பாங்க. The only registration certificate which will have a from date and to date is only these two fellows registration certificate, casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. ஏன் அப்படின்னா அவங்க ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷனே இவ்வளவு நாள் தான் வேலிட். அப்புறம் சார் it is invalid. Sir, they asked the 45 days time, but government has given only 30 days time. Rare. See, first of all, rare. If in case government has given only 30 days, 30 days only. Sir, they want 180 days, sir. Government, then government can maximum, they want 120 days, sir. Government can maximum give 90 days only. 90 days க்கு மேல ஒரு casual taxable person registration கொடுக்க முடியாது. Non-resident taxable person registration 90 days க்கு மேல கொடுக்க முடியாது. Maximum it can be only that period. Sir, what if in case I want to extend it? Yes, you can extend it by another 90 days by making an application, extending of further period of another 90 days or a shorter period requested. நான் திருப்பி சொல்றேன், நீங்க 90 days னு படிக்கிறதுனால don't think it will be mandatorily extended for 90 days. 90 days is the maximum extending period. He wants only another 10 days, means 10 days or 90 days, whichever is less. See, a period requested by the casual taxable person, period requested by a non-resident taxable person for amendment also, or further period of 90 days, whichever is less will be given to the concerned person. So when it comes to time period, 2-3 points to note. Casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person, registration will have a valid from, valid to date. Maximum of 90 days temporary registration is allowed, or a shorter period requested by them. If they requested for 10 days shorter period, then 10 days. If they requested for 80 days, then 80 days. But no casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person can cross 90 days. They obtained originally 40 days registration. They are on their 32nd day. They feel the work is not completed. Another 15 days, it might extend. What they can do is they can go back, extend it by another 15 days. Let me repeat. They'll extend it by another 15 days. How to extend it by another 15 days? They have to make an application and seek an extension for another 15 days. Sir, they want extension by another 120 days. Not possible. Extension maximum of another 90 days is allowed. So this is about your time limit. Make yourself comfortable. Followed by, when it comes to both players, casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person, they have to pay their taxes. They have to project their sales and pay their taxes in advance. Both non-resident taxable person and casual taxable person have to project their sales and need to make the payment in advance. They should ensure they make their payment in advance. That is to say, if they have a goods of rupees 5 lakhs with them, I'll rephrase it. If they have a goods of rupees 4 lakhs with them and they project they will make a profit of 20%, so 4 lakhs plus 20%, tax liability will be roughly about 90,000 rupees if it is 18% GST. So 5 lakhs, the sales is estimated sales, projected sales. Number projections lam poduvom, it is estimated cost plus profit 20% they'll make. So 4 lakh plus 1 lakh, 5 lakh they will make, they believe. So point here is estimated sales arrived at 5 lakh, 18% GST is 90,000. From the nearby from their state, they brought the goods for 4 lakhs. Branch transfer, when it is a branch transfer, it is outward supply. They brought the goods no to this casual taxable person registration. When they brought the goods, they would have brought it. At that time, they'll have an invoice, 4 lakhs into 18% GST. All that amount will be there, where they will have about roughly about 72,000 rupees GST will be available with them. So what they will do is, sorry, not 72,000. 4 lakhs they will purchase now. Yeah, 72,000 GST will be there. 90,000 minus 72,000, 18,000 rupees upfront tax they will pay, and then only they will go and do business. In their business, they saw many people are liking the product on first day. Second day, they decided to increase the price. At the end of the business fair, they projected their sales will be 5 lakhs. To their surprise, their sales was 5.5 lakhs. Then when they file a return, there are certain returns. When they file a return, at the time they'll pay the differential amount tax. First day sale was not successful. They thought, okay, 20% if we keep profit, it won't work out. We will keep profit only 10%. Now, the sale comes down to 4.5 lakhs from 5 lakhs. அவங்க டாக்ஸ் ப்ரொஜெக்ட் பண்ணி கட்டி வச்சிருக்கிறது 5 லட்சத்துக்கு. ஆனா சேல்ஸ் இஸ் only 4.5 lakhs. Nothing. Once after filing the return, make a refund application, get money. Intention is this is a process which need to be carried out at the time of casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person registration. Coming back here, any extension needed can be given after additional amount to be paid for the extension. Let me repeat. Extension can be given. Sir, first I went and made an application. I got 40 days time. I requested for 40 days. I got 40 days time and I did business. On 30th day, I felt I have to extend this registration as work is not completing. So I extended my registration for another 50 days. I asked for time. Government gave me time. So my original time limit is over. Extended time limit is also over. Now I want to extend my application for the third time. Is it possible? Answer is no. Once a registration can be extended only once. Third time, not possible. What they have to do, sir, then they have to convert their casual taxable person. If they want to extend it third time, they have to convert their casual taxable person to normal registration only. They cannot have it as a casual taxable person registration. Only one extension would be possible. This sums up your discussion relating to both casual and non-resident taxable person. Let me repeat. Though I would have pressed 2-3 times the word casual taxable person, process, procedure, everything is same when it comes to casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person, addressed by a same section called as section 27. If you have any doubts on this topic, yes, I would take it up. Else, we can move forward towards a next topic for discussion. If you have any doubts to raise, yes, you can raise. Amendments, I think we have discussed in our last class. If you are through with this, we can get into cancellation and revocation. Now, last point of your non-resident taxable person is, in case if it is extended, that is to say, if you are going to, you have obtained a registration, no casual taxable person registration, and that registration got expired, and you went and made an application for extension. That extension was also granted, and the extension ku innor extension kadikuma kadikadu. They have to get converted into a normal registration. Extension ku extension kadiyadu. ஒரிஜினலா உங்களுக்கு ஒரு டைம் லிமிட் கொடுத்தாங்களா, அதுல ஒரு எக்ஸ்டென்ஷன் கிடைக்கும், அவ்வளவுதான். அதுக்கப்புறம் சார் அதுக்கப்புறம் கிடைக்காது. That's the end of the discussion. That's all. Beyond that, nothing great. Cancellation of registration. As far as cancellation of registration, this topic is concerned, a very easy topic. Can GST registrations be cancelled? Yes, very much. GST registrations can be cancelled. Sir, how or on what basis GST registrations are cancelled? Very simple. There are two broader ways in which GST registration can be cancelled. One by the assessee, two by the GST officer. One is voluntary cancellation by the supplier. Another one is suo motu cancellation by the department. Now, cancellation by officer, cancellation by supplier. Generally, based on voluntary discussion, supplier will cancel the registration. What are all your reasons for supplier cancelling the registration? They stopped doing business. There is a change in the constitution of business. Their turnover has become less so that they are not required to get themselves registered under section 22. Primary in the reasons da irukum. See, somebody has stopped doing business. You and me cannot do anything. When they stop doing business, they have stopped doing business. Then what is the charm in holding the registration certificate? They can go back and they can stop getting themselves registered. One. பயங்கர ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக்கா இருக்க வேண்டியது. Now, when it comes to your registration is concerned, voluntary cancellation. Sorry, when it comes to the cancellation is concerned, cancellation of registration is concerned, voluntary cancellation by the assessee, is it happening? Yes, there are many assessee who voluntarily cancels the registration. But a very important point that need to be noted down here is something is little uncomfortable. Now, in case of your discontinuance of business, they stop doing business, or there is a change in the constitution, there is a change in the constitution of their business. That is to say, a proprietary firm now converted into a partnership firm. A partnership firm is converted into a company. When a partnership firm is converted into a company, when a proprietary firm is converted into a partnership firm, in all these situations, what time and again happens with us is, when a proprietary firm converted into a partnership firm, proprietary firm will get dissolved. So you will cancel the registration. When a partnership firm get converted into a company, obviously partnership firm will get dissolved. You will dissolve it straight away. Dissolved here refers to, you will say, no, not required. You throw away this partnership firm. You will dissolve it and you will have a company. See, நல்லா தெரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க, ஒரு லெவல்ல இருந்து அடுத்த லெவல் போகும்போது the previous one need to be cancelled. Sir, பார்ட்னர்ஷிப்ல இருந்து பிரைவேட் லிமிடெட் கம்பெனியா மைக்ரேட் பண்ணணும் தானே கன்வெர்ட் பண்றீங்க. அப்புறம் எதுக்கு பார்ட்னர்ஷிப் ஆஃப் ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன்? எல்லாமே பிரைவேட் லிமிடெட் கம்பெனில இருக்க போகுது. ஸோ இட் வில் கெட் கேன்சல். ஸோ தீஸ் ஆர் த நீட்ஸ், தீஸ் ஆர் த பர்பசஸ். Again, coming back here, no longer registration is required under section 22 if they decide. Always, our last 2 years, their turnover are less than 20 lakhs. Because they are registered, they are liable to pay GST. They are of the view, if I cancel the registration, I'm shrinking down my business. One, the person has passed away, individual na person passed away, company closed, amalgamated, business transferred, that reason. Another one is a normal takeover or change in their constitution. Third is they shrink down the business or their business comes down. These are all genuine reasons why a voluntary cancellation by a supplier possible. Suo moto cancellation. Look at that word. Suo moto cancellation by the department person. Somebody has contravened the provisions of the act. He did some fraud. Cancel. Somebody has not filed 3 consecutive composition scheme returns. If a person has not filed last 3 returns of composition levy, cancel his registration, and last 6 months return in case of his normal levy. Normal levy means last 6 months return not filed, because normal levy returns are monthly return. Composition levy returns are quarterly return. So 3 consecutive quarterly returns he has not filed. 6 monthly returns he has not filed. Cancel his registration. தேவையில்லைன்றான். ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ண மந்த்லி கம்ப்ளைண்ட்ஸ் பண்ணாத ஒருத்தர் ஜிஎஸ்டி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்ல தேவையில்லை அப்படின்றது ஸ்ட்ராங்கான பிலீஃப். ஏன் அப்படின்னா ஜிஎஸ்டி இஸ் a compliance based law. As long as your compliance is good only, everything is good. Monitoring will be less. எல்லாமே ஈஸி ஆகும். இவங்க 2018 சேல பண்ணிட்டு 2020 ரிப்போர்ட் பண்ணி யாருக்கு புண்ணியம்? Best option is what? Last 6 months return not failed. Cancel him, throw him out. That's all. So that was the model there. Somebody took voluntary registration under 25(3). However, they have not commenced their business within 6 months. Cancel them. Unnecessarily, space, data, time, energy, everything is there. Again, anybody has did some suppression of facts, willful misstatement, or a fraud, registration will be cancelled. So coming back here, first entry is a little generic entry. Contravention of provisions of the act na actல எப்படி சொல்லுது, அவர் அதுக்கு அகைன்ஸ்டா செய்யறாரு, கேன்சல் பண்ணலாம். Fraud, willful misstatement and all, something with a motive. He want to defraud the government. With that motive, he does something. So those attached elements are all there. Understand? Those suo moto powers are there. Government officer can today step in and say registration will be cancelled. He can issue a notice and say registration will be cancelled. Just like that, he cannot cancel. He has powers to cancel under this section. One notice will be issued called as show cause notice. A show cause notice will be issued for the purpose of cancellation of registration. An opportunity of being heard will be given. That is to say, you come, what was the reason for this non-filing? What is the reason for not starting the business? What is the reason for somebody says you are doing fraud? Are you doing fraud, or what was the reason for all this? For which opportunity of being heard, OBH, opportunity of being heard, will be given. When after show cause notice is issued, officer will ask, you come on this date, this time and meet me. Assessee comes on this day, this time and meets. Then assessee comes on that day, that time and meets. Then law is very clear. Allow them if they have a genuine reason. Else cancel the registration by giving a cancellation order. See, registration cancel ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா என்ன ஆயிடும் சார்? பிசினஸ் பண்ண முடியாது, அடுத்த ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன் கிடைக்காது. ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரேஷன் கேன்சல் ஆன அன்னைக்கு என்னெல்லாம் ஸ்டாக் இருந்ததோ, என்னெல்லாம் குட்ஸ் இருந்ததோ, என்னெல்லாம் கேபிட்டல் குட்ஸ் இருந்ததோ எல்லாத்துக்கும் ஐடிசியை ரிவர்ஸ் பண்ணணும். எல்லாமே எல்லா குட்ஸோ, எல்லா ஸ்டாக்ஸோ, எல்லா ஃபிக்ஸ்ட் அசெட்டும் இஸ் ட்ரீட்டட் ஆஸ் அ டீம்டு சப்ளை. வார்த்தைலாம் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்கான வார்த்தைகள். ஸோ மை பாயிண்ட் ஹியர் இஸ், in case of all these cancellation of registration, blah blah blah, all these matters, government will not go that aggressively. But once government goes, it's very tough. And if a cancellation order is passed, assessee has only 30 days time. 30 days. Within 30 days from the date of issue of cancellation order, he has to go and make a application for revocation. Application for revocation or reinstatement of your registration. Sir, I have not paid tax, not filed return. That is why I have cancelled. I have filed now all my return. I have paid all my tax. Interest also I paid. Penalty also paid. Kindly accept my revocation. என் நம்பரை எனக்கு திருப்பி கொடுத்துருங்க சார் ப்ளீஸ் அப்படின்ற அப்ளிகேஷன் ரிவோகேஷன் அப்ளிகேஷன் ஹேஸ் டு பி ஃபைல்டு வித்தின் 30 days from the date of cancellation of order. What is cancellation order, sir? Once a voluntary application or a suo motu application is done for cancellation, a show cause notice will be issued, a hearing will be fixed, and an order will be passed. These are all procedural requirements. Once that is done, yes, a person's registration will be cancelled. And if he wants to reinstate it, in case if it is erroneously cancelled or suo motu cancellation by officer, he can do the necessary complaint and then he can make it. Sir, if an application is filed after 30 days, just understand you are living in a digital era. Data தான் இப்படி கேப்சர் பண்ணி வச்சுக்கும் சிஸ்டம். 30 டேஸ்க்கு அப்புறம் அப்ளிகேஷனே ஃபைல் பண்ண முடியாது. உங்களுக்கு காமிக்கவே காமிக்காத அப்ளிகேஷன். ஃப்ரீஸ் ஆயிடும் அப்ளிகேஷன். Means after 30 days, revocation of application is not possible. Simply not possible. Let me repeat. Very, very simply not possible. So that is how it goes when it comes to cancellation and revocation under GST. Before we getting into a next topic for discussion, a fresh discussion on documentation under GST. Yes. Any doubts in this topic of registration? Let me repeat it. A very detailed discussion, closely to 5.5 hours, including problems and all. 6 hours we have discussed about registration. After a long time, a very detailed and elaborate discussion. Any questions if you have? Yes, I would take it up. Else we can make our beginning towards the next topic for discussion. Done? Can we? Are there any benefit when I move from a casual taxable person to normal taxable person? Yeah, definitely you have one benefit. In a casual taxable person, you have to estimate the sales and pay the tax in advance. Correct? Huh? But when it comes to a normal taxable person, you will actually make the sale and then only you will pay tax. நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க. இங்க சேல் ஆயிடும் அப்படின்னு நினைச்சு அட்வான்ஸ்ல பணம் கட்டணும். அது வந்து எதுல கேஷுவல் டாக்ஸ் பர்சன்ல. இங்க சேல் ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் அடுத்த மாசம் 20ஆம் தேதிக்குள்ள டாக்ஸ் கட்டணும். ஸோ அதுதான் ஒரு பெரிய ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் டிஃபரன்ஸ். பட் ஃபார் இட் ஐ டோன்ட் ஃபைண்ட் எனி டிஃபரன்ஸ். அதர்வைஸ் சேம் ஃபார்ம், சேம் ரிட்டர்ன், எல்லாம் சேம். ஒரே ஒரு டிஃபரன்ஸ், நம்மால் ப்ரீபெய்டு கார்டு, இவன் போஸ்ட் பெய்டு கார்டு, அவ்வளவுதான். எது ப்ரீபெய்டு சார்? Casual taxable person prepaid. Normal taxable person postpaid. அவ்வளவுதான். Anirudh, yes.
Sir, casual taxable person வந்து profit estimate பண்ணி tax கட்டுறாங்க சார். பட் ஆனா profit அதெல்லாம் கம்மியா இருந்ததுன்னா அந்த கட்டின tax
ரீஃபண்ட் வாங்கிக்கலாம்னு சொன்னேனே.
ஓகே சார்.
கட்டின tax ரீஃபண்ட் வாங்கிக்கலாம்னு சொன்னேனே.
ஓகே சார்.
கவனிக்கலையா?
கவனிக்கல சார்.
நடுவில் ஒரு தடவை சொன்னேன். ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொன்னேன். சேல்ஸ் 5 lakhs அண்ட் அபவ் போச்சுன்னா டிஃபரன்ஷியல் டாக்ஸ் கட்டுவீங்க. 5 lakhs இருந்து கீழே 4.5 lakhs வந்ததுன்னா நீங்க வந்து அந்த அமௌண்ட் என்ன டாக்ஸ் அமௌண்ட் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா கட்டிருக்கீங்களோ அதை ரீஃபண்ட் ஆகிக்கலாம்.
ஓகே சார்.
ஒரு ரிட்டர்ன் ஒன்று இருக்கு. ரிட்டர்ன் போகும்போது இதோட லிங்க் பண்ணி படிப்பீங்க. அந்த ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் வாங்கிக்கலாம்.
ஓகே சார்.
So we'll do one thing. This is a strategic time. We'll take a short break for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. We'll reassume by 8:25 and start a discussion for the next 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes on documentation. Documentation is a topic. We'll in-house 2 subtopics. Documentation under GST, accounts and records. Maybe I'm okay to take up accounts and records in our next class, but at least 12 different type of documents we have. That documents alone let us close. when it comes to today's discussion. Maxed by 9:40, 9:45 to catch up the break and a little delayed start. Somehow I was sitting, but ஒரு 3-4 ஐடிஸ் இருக்கு, எல்லாத்தையும் போட்டு போட்டு பார்த்தேனோ எனக்கு செட் ஆகல. Usually I'll get a information which ID I should log in. Today that was little challenge. Any case, let me repeat as usual. The meeting will be on. Stay in the room. No need to quit the room and all. Stay here. Stay with your bandwidth. You go and get yourself relaxed for next 10 minutes. Come back. Procedural topic will warrant a break. ஐடிசி மாதிரி ஆக்டில் எவ்வளவு படிச்சாலும் பிரேக், அந்த செட்டில் டவுன் டைம் தேவையில்லை. இங்க ஒரு சின்ன செட்டில் டவுன் டைம் எப்போதுமே தேவை. அதனால தான் கான்சியஸாவே பிரேக் தரேன் எனி ப்ரொசீஜரல் டிஸ்கஷன். அண்ட் இட் so happened that we have to break on these points. So we'll break and rejoin in another 10 minutes. Thank you. Hi all, welcome back. Welcome back to the discussions on documentation under GST. A new procedural requirement. As far as this, new procedural requirement is concerned, just be aware that there are a lot of documents that are generated by a registered person under GST. If he is a registered person, then he is responsible for generating certain documents. What are those documents? When those documents will be issued? Are there any time limit for issuing those documents? A discussion about that would be a topic called as documentation under GST, in specific tax invoice, debit note, credit note. Not only that 3 documents we will discuss, a lot more documents also. Now, a genuine doubt will come. Why I have to raise documents? See, there are varieties of documents that are raised in GST. A document by name called as tax invoice, a document by name called as bill of supply, receipt voucher, refund voucher, self tax invoice, otherwise called as RCM invoice, various delivery challan, invoice by input service distributor, what not. You can go on this topic. Debit notes, credit notes, roughly about 12 different types of document are getting raised. We will first basically understand about all these documents, because our discussion will go like this. Section 31 will come out and say what are those documents. So we will have a broader idea only. Then when we read it along with the rule, what information should be made available in that invoice or in that document, we will know. ஸோ அப்போ 2 தடவை டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணுவோமா சார் அப்படின்னா இல்ல, ஒரு தடவை தான் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணுவோம். முதல் தடவை we will discuss about the nature of document. டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ்னா என்ன அப்படின்னு டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணுவோம். அப்புறம் டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ்ல என்னென்ன இன்ஃபர்மேஷன்லாம் கேப்சர் பண்ணணும், காம்பனன்ட்ஸ் ஆஃப் அ டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ், அதை டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணுவோம். ஓகே, ஸோ அப்படி ரெண்டு ஸ்பிளிட்டா வரும் இந்த டாபிக். டு ஸ்டார்ட் வித் our discussions on this tax invoice. Tax invoice is a document that will be issued by a person who is going to supply goods or services which are liable to GST. If it is liable to GST, I would use the word liable to GST, or when somebody is going to pay GST, their product is going to be liable for 5, 12, 18, 28, product or services, whatever be it. End of the day என்ன சார் சொல்றீங்க, டாக்ஸ் கட்டினா டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ். செக்ஷன் 31(1) invoice, section 31(2) invoice will be issued in cases where it is a supply of goods where it is liable to tax, supply of services liable to tax. A tax invoice will be issued. Yes sir, a tax invoice will be issued in case of taxable supply of goods or services. Similarly, what do we mean by then a term called as revised invoice? Revised invoice, very simple sir. Whenever a tax invoice is revised invoice. No, it's not like that. Whenever a newly registered assessee, there will be a gap between date of liability to date of registration. Let me repeat. There is a gap between date of liability to date of registration. To fulfill the gap, an invoice that will be issued during this period, from a date of liability to date of registration, one document will be issued, one invoice will be issued. To further substantiate those documents, invoice will be issued called as revised invoice. Let me go back to some examples so that you get a grip on this topic. 10/1/2020 the person is liable to get himself registered. அன்னிலேருந்து ஒரு tax கட்டணும் 10/1/2020 லேருந்து. Now 10/1/2020 he is liable. He made an application on 21/2020. He got himself registered on 24/1/2020. So he know his GST number only on 24/1/2020, but he has to pay tax from 10/1/2020. Now from 10/1/2020 date of liability to effective date of liability or effective date of registration to date of registration granted 10/1/2020 to 24/1/2020, for this 14 days, if he sold goods, is he liable to pay tax? Yes. Other person will see the bill. GST number irukadu. GST mattum collect பண்ணுவான். What is this? Without GST number, you are collecting GST. Will you ask? Not ask. You'll ask. You'll say, I have applied for registration. Let me get a registration certificate. I'll issue you a revised invoice. புரிஞ்சதா? Revised invoice has to be issued within 1 month from the date of issue of registration, from effective date of registration till date of issue of registration certificate. Effective date of registration 10/1/2020, the day in which he is liable. Date of issue of registration certificate, application made on 21, he gets a certificate on 24/1. So 10/1 to 24/1, for that 14 days. Whatever sales he made would have been made without a GST number, or they would have told applied for registration and collected GST. Anybody who made an application, who got an invoice, applied for registration இருந்தா கண்டிப்பா என்ன தோணும்? கட்டினானா இல்லையா, நம்மள்ட்ட இருந்து 500 ரூபாய் வாங்கியிருக்கான், கட்டினானா இல்லையா, அவன் எடுத்து தம்பி அப்ளைட் ஃபார் சார் வெயிட், தம்பி அப்ளைட் ஃபார் வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க கேம் இந்தாங்க சார். He will refer that invoice and put he'll refer that original invoice issued to us on 12/1 or 14/1, that day invoice, and now raised on 25, 26, 27. How long he can raise? Within 1 month. He got a registration on 24/1/2020. Before 24/2/2020, all invoice for this period has to be raised. That invoice is called as revised invoice. Here, understand the concept. Let me repeat. Tax invoice na என்னது, revised invoice na என்னது அப்படின்ற கான்செப்ட் இங்க புரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க. கண்டென்ட்ஸ் என்ன இருக்குன்றத அடுத்த டிஸ்கஷன், ரூல் டிஸ்கஷன்ல தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம். ஓகே, ஸோ டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ் இஸ் அ டாக்குமெண்ட் that will be issued by a person who is going to make a supply which is liable for GST, be it supply of goods, be it supply of services. Similarly, revised invoice is a document that will be issued by a person within 1 month from the date of issue of registration certificate, from the period or for the period from effective date of registration to date of granting of registration certificate. So coming back here, post this discussion relating to it, bill of supply. What do we mean by a term called as bill of supply? As far as bill of supply, a term called as bill of supply is concerned, it's the opposite of tax invoice. Whenever a goods or services is not liable for GST or is exempted from GST, then a bill of supply will be issued. Not only on exempted goods, bill of supply will be issued, even in case of composition levy. Even in case of composition levy, bill of supply will be issued. So make a point here, a bill of supply. A bill of supply will be issued not only in case of your tax invoice, it will also be issued even in case of your not only in case of goods exempted or supply exempted, not liable. Even in case of composition supply, yes, a bill of supply. Composition levy, a bill of supply document will be issued. Or a composition person, you all know, composition levy person, sell his goods. He will not raise a tax invoice, rather he will issue a bill of supply. அதுல இருந்து புரிஞ்சுக்கலாம், he is a composition levy person. போறதுக்கு அவர் வேற எழுதியிருப்பாரு, bill of supply கீழே composition levy person under GST அப்படின்னு ஒரு வார்த்தை வரும். அப்படி வரணும். வரலைனா சார், he is treated as a normal person. அது மாதிரி வார்த்தை போட்டு bill of supply கொடுத்திருந்தா then he is a composition levy person. அப்படி போடாம நார்மலா ஜிஎஸ்டி நம்பர் போட்டு பில் ஆஃப் சப்ளை கொடுத்திருந்தாங்கன்னா means that product is a exempted goods. So be it tax invoice, be it bill of supply, be it tax invoice, be it bill of supply, if the value of a goods or a services is less than 200 rupees, if a value of goods or services is less than 200 rupees, government gives an exemption. Individually invoices may not be issued. Somebody comes, buys for 120 rupees. Somebody comes, buy a goods for 180 rupees. Somebody come, take a service for 150 rupees. Somebody come, provide a purchase a goods for 190 rupees. All amounts are less than 200. What you do, make a note of all these amounts. In the end of the day, raise one invoice, raise a single invoice for value of goods which are all less than 200 rupees. If value of goods is going to be less than 200 rupees, value of services is going to be less than 200 rupees, no need to raise invoices for everything. Sir, I will better raise invoice, sir. You buy from me 5 rupees, you buy from me 50 rupees, 5,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees. We don't bother. To raise invoice, we don't bother about it. But intention is this. The intention of the lawmaker is less than 200 rupees, they are not required to mandatorily raise invoice. If they raise invoice, it is well and good, but they are not required to mandatorily raise invoice. Then what is the option available? Law insists for a consolidated invoice. Invoices can be raised on per day basis. Now, in ஒரே invoice, number 1 sale, number 2 sale, 3 sale, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 sales நடந்திருக்கு, எல்லாம் less than 200 rupees good. மொத்தமா ஒரு டோட்டல் போட்டு இன்வாய்ஸ் போட்டு இழுத்துருங்க. That is an option given. If the supplier wants, he may follow. If the supplier is not interested, he need not follow. Coming back here, receipt voucher. What do we mean by a term called as receipt voucher? Nothing. Receipt voucher is nothing great about it. One minute. Just one minute. Now, welcome back. As far as your documentation under GST is concerned, getting into the next different types of documents, some of those documents that are raised under GST are receipt voucher, refund voucher, and a self-tax invoice. What do we mean by a receipt voucher, refund voucher, or a self-tax invoice? What are these documents, or for what purposes it is raised? When we go back to those questions, yes, I would say here payment voucher. As far as payment voucher is concerned, whenever a supplier of a goods or a supplier of a services, sorry, we have not discussed receipt voucher. Receipt voucher, refund voucher, self-tax invoice. Then we will go. When it comes to your receipt voucher is concerned, whenever a supplier of a goods or a supplier of a service receives advance for supply of goods or supply of services. I'm sure when we read time of supply, we discussed about advance payment. See, ஒருத்தர் advance payment வாங்கியிருக்காருன்னு உங்களுக்கு எப்படி தெரியும்? இந்த டாக்குமெண்ட்டை பார்த்தா தெரியும். Whenever a supplier of a goods or a supplier of a service receives an advance payment, at that time a document will be raised called as receipt voucher. So raising of a receipt voucher is mandatory whenever a person receives advances for supply of goods or supply of services. So a person signs a contract and receives about 2 lakh rupees as advance, let's say today, and he starts the services in a small way. 2 months later only he is going to bill. Then today he'll issue a document called as receipt voucher. Receipt voucher will be issued on receipt of advance for supply of goods or services by a registered person. Then what is refund voucher, sir? Opposite of advance. He has taken an advance. For some reason, the service was not supplied. For some reason, the final invoice was not raised. Many times what happens is they'll book in advance and then they will cancel. Recollect, many people are facing various challenges. One of our client had an event during first week of April. Sorry, not first week, second week of April. Along with that 14th, April 14th, he had about 2-3 days holiday. He planned for an event in Chennai Trade Center. Nothing executed. And I'm talking of a property where to host an event in April, during December itself, 15 lakh rupees tax was paid. 15 lakh rupees rent was paid in advance. Take a situation. 15 lakh rupees was paid in advance in December. Who will know that things like this will happen, things like this will not happen? Now, as per the policy of the organization, in case of any cancellation, normally they will return back 50% of the rent only. 50% of the rent they will not give. But because of this COVID-19 issues and all, they got back almost 95% of the rent. 95, 98% of the 97.5%. I think 1 lakh rupee they deducted, or less than that they deducted. Okay. 1 lakh or 1.5 lakhs they deducted. Whenever the supplier, see, one advantage in documents is all the documents that we are discussing will be raised only by suppliers. Whenever a supplier refund the advance amount, at that time he will raise a document called as refund voucher. When he will refund the advance amount, supply பண்ணலனா advance amount கொடுப்பாரு, இல்ல supply பண்ண மாட்டேன் போடானா advance amount கொடுப்பாரு. சார் ரெண்டு ஒண்ணு தானே? அதேதான். So whenever a tax invoice is not raised, or whenever a supply is not made, yes, the refund amount, the amount will be refunded, which is collected as advance, which is called as, at that time one document will be raised called as refund voucher. I am sure you all will know that the registered person is liable to pay tax under reverse charge when he receives certain goods or services. I am a registered person. I am liable to pay tax when I receive some services from advocate, when I receive some services from GTA, when I buy goods from cashew nuts from agriculturist, when I buy cotton from agriculturist, as a recipient, I am liable to pay tax. Then any registered person is liable to pay tax as a recipient. At that time, he will raise a document called as self-tax invoice. என்ன சார் வித்தியாசம் டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ்க்கும் செல்ஃப் டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ்க்கும்? ஒன்னே ஒன்று. டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ் will be issued by a supplier in case of supplies which are liable to tax under forward charge mechanism. Self-tax invoice will be issued by a registered person when he receive goods or receive services which are liable for tax under reverse charge mechanism. Forward chargeல tax கட்டுற மாதிரி நீங்க இருந்ததுன்னா அப்ப என்ன டாக்குமெண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க? டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ் ரைஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க. ரிவர்ஸ் சார்ஜ்ல டாக்ஸ் கட்டுற மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா அந்த டைம்ல என்ன டாக்குமெண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்ணுவீங்கன்னா செல்ஃப் டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸ் என்ற டாக்குமெண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க. திஸ் இஸ் அபவுட் basically, let me repeat, all these discussions are all basic discussions. Payment voucher, let me repeat, payment voucher. As part of your payment voucher, whenever let us say like this, whenever advance payment is made by the registered person, whenever an advance payment is made by a registered person to a supplier, advance payment is made by a registered person to a supplier in case where that supply is liable for tax under reverse charge. புரியல சார். Receipt voucher ஓட opposite payment voucher for purchase of agriculture, cotton, for purchase of cashew nut. I make a advance payment, a payment made by registered person to unregistered person, where the registered person is liable to pay tax under reverse charge. At that time, one document will be raised called as payment voucher. இந்த டாக்குமெண்ட் எல்லாத்தையும் டைம் ஆஃப் சப்ளையோட லிங்க் பண்ணி பாத்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு புரிய ஆரம்பிச்சு. எப்படி சார் சொல்றீங்க? ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். when you have to pay tax either at the time of receipt of goods or at the time of payment of money. எப்படி உங்களுக்கு payment of money தெரியும்? payment voucher. Whenever a registered person, that is to say in a simple words, a registered person, supplier receives a goods or receives a services, then he will raise a self-tax invoice. Whenever a registered person, being a supplier, that person makes advance payment for certain inward supplies, which he is liable to pay tax under reverse charge, then he will raise a document called as payment voucher. Specific document will be raised only whenever the advance payment is made. Adhu na sollikiren, whenever advance payment is made, then only this document raising will be possible. Followed by delivery challan. Whenever organization want to transport goods which are not supply, whenever it is a job work related transaction, or goods goes for testing purposes, or all those goods goes for other than supply purposes, other than supply na testing la other than supply da, or goods moves within the state from one branch to another branch where they are not registered separately. Within Tamil Nadu they have only one registration, Coimbatore, Coimbatore, Tiruchi, Madurai, Salem, Chennai. All 5 branches together within the state branches together, they have only one registration. They can move goods, not liable for GST. When they have separate registration, liable for GST. So on the moment எப்படி நீங்க track பண்ணுவீங்க? Delivery challan. Whenever an input service distributor, a person who want to distribute input services credit, if you want to distribute, whenever an input service distributor want to distribute his credit, yes, he will issue a document called as tax invoice by input service distributor. Again, if a supplier want to increase the value of supply, then a debit note will be issued. If a supplier want to decrease the value of supply, at that time credit note will be issued. A banking company is not required to issue a serially numbered invoices. A GTA, a goods transport agency, should issue a consignment note when goods are exported to foreign country. Then in the tax invoice, words such as with the payment of IGST or without payment of IGST In case goods are supplied to SEZ, goods supplied to SEZ with the payment or without payment, those words has to come in. See, let me repeat it. இது வரைக்கும் படிச்சது எல்லாமே basics of documentation. Tax invoice na என்ன யாரு கொடுப்பா, revised invoice na என்ன யாரு கொடுப்பா, bill of supply means what, who will issue a bill of supply, receipt voucher, refund voucher means what, who will issue it, self tax invoice means what. Similarly, payment voucher, delivery challan, tax invoice by ISC, credit note, debit note. See, all these documents means what, who will issue those documents. A discussion about that is going to be your discussion when let me repeat it. I would not say you had a complete understanding. Maybe another 10-12 slides we have. After that, you might have a better understanding on your better understanding on your documentational requirement. As of now, broadly you would have understood in the document enna purpose avladha. Your requirement will be this document meant for what purpose. That's all. Beyond that, our need is also not anything in excess beyond that. So to start with some basic discussions on section 31 tax invoice, 31.1 and 31.2. Now, when a invoice has to be issued by a supplier of goods, you all know at the time of removal of goods. In case goods are made available, at the time when the goods are made available, at the time invoice has to be issued. So invoice can be issued before. Nalla paathukonga. Invoice can be issued before. Invoice can be issued before, or at least at the time of removal in case where goods involve movement, or when the goods are not made available, the day in which you make the goods available. அதாவது அந்த goods மூவ் ஆகுது சார், மூவ் ஆகாம டெலிவரி கொடுப்போம் goods அப்படின்னா when that the day in which, if the goods involves movements, the time of removal when it has been done, time on which or time of date making available such goods to the recipient that day. ஏதோ ஒரு மிஷினை இன்ஸ்டால் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா இன்ஸ்டால் என்னைக்கு பண்ணி அந்த கம்பெனிட்ட சார் நீங்க பாத்துக்கோங்க எங்க வேலை எல்லாம் முடிஞ்சிருச்சு அப்படின்னு சொல்றீங்களோ, தட் இஸ் யுவர் ஸ்டாட்யூட்டரி டைம் லிமிட். சார் இன்ஸ்டால் பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடியே இன்வாய்ஸ் அடிச்சாச்சு சார், தென் பிஃபோர். இத டைம் லிமிட்டா புரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க. இந்த டைம் லிமிட்டை தான் நம்ம ஸ்டாட்யூட்டரி டைம் லிமிட்னு டைம் ஆஃப் சப்ளைல ரெஃபர் பண்றோம். செக்ஷன் 12(2) will refer back to 31(1). Section 13(2) will refer back to 31(2). திருப்பி சொல்றேன், அங்கேருந்து இங்க லிங்க் வந்துட்டு தான் போகும், அப்படியே நேர போகாது. So statutory time limit for issuing invoices. You can issue invoice before supply of goods or even after supply of goods. Before supply of goods முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. After supply means at the time of removal you have to raise invoice, or at least if the goods does not involve movement, the day in which it is made available, followed by in case of supply of services. In case of supply of services, whenever invoice, tax invoice issues involve supply of services. If it involves supply of services, invoice has to be raised before invoice can be raised before or within the prescribed time. What is my prescribed time? In case of all services, within 30 days. In case of banking and financial services, it has to be raised within 45 days. So supply of service means if you raise the invoice before, முடிஞ்சிருச்சுங்க. நான் திருப்பி சொல்றேன், எப்பெல்லாம் இன்வாய்ஸ் நீங்க சர்வீஸ் பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடியே இன்வாய்ஸ் ரைஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா முடிஞ்சது சார், நாங்க சர்வீஸ் பண்ணிட்டோம், ஓகே. After date of completion of service, invoice has to be raised within either 30 days or 45 days. நீங்க முன்னாடியே சர்வீஸ் முடிக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே இன்வாய்ஸ் ரைஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா உங்களை யாருமே கேட்க போறது இல்லை. பட் சர்வீஸ் முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் இன்வாய்ஸ் ரைஸ் பண்ண போறீங்க அப்படின்னா there are questions that are going to be tested. There are people that are going to ask you why this is not done, why that is not done, all that stuff associated with it. So coming back here, in case of supply of services, time of supply of services or the statutory time limit within which invoice need to be raised is before raising invoice or within 30 days in case of all services and 45 days in case of banking and financial services, followed by a revised invoice has to be raised by a new registered person within 30 days from the date of issue of registration certificate. அதை ஏற்கனவே அங்க பார்த்தோம், அதை ரெக்கார்ட் பண்றோம். No tax invoice will be issued. No tax invoice or bill of supply will be issued if the value is less than rupees 200. So it doesn't mean it will not at all be issued. If the amount is less than 200, you will aggregate it and issue an invoice at the end of the day. End of month, end of quarter lang கிடையாது. End of the day, EOD. End of the day, you will complete it and then you will proceed with it. So coming back here, this is about a basic understanding on your tax invoice. அந்த tax invoiceல என்னென்னலாம் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் இருக்கு, நிறைய இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் உங்களுக்கு ஏற்கனவே தெரிஞ்சது. Majority of the information are basic information. Name and address of supplier and recipient, followed by invoice date, invoice number, date of issue of invoice number. Up to 16 characteristics, your invoice number is allowed. It has to be consecutively numbered, serially numbered. Every year they have to take a fresh number. புதுசா நம்பர் ஆரம்பிக்கணும். So a consecutive number, a serial numbering they have to follow, and a fresh registration number they have to take at the start of every year, followed by if the recipient is an unregistered person. If the recipient is an unregistered person and value of taxable supply, ஒரே பில்லோட value of taxable supply is greater than 50,000. ரெண்டு கண்டிஷன் சொல்லியிருக்கேங்க. First is recipient is an unregistered person. Second is that bill value is more than 50,000. Address of delivery along with the state code is mandatory. யார் யாரெல்லாம் 50,000 ரூபாய்க்கு மேல குட்ஸ் வாங்குறாங்களோ, சர்வீசஸ் வாங்குறாங்களோ அவங்களுடைய டீடைல்ஸ் மேண்டேட்டரி அப்படி வச்சுக்கோங்க. ஓகே. In case of goods, HSN means Harmonized System of Nomenclature, an international method of classifying goods. HSN, Harmonized System of Nomenclature, an international method of classification of goods. HSN coding or HSN HSN code need to be used, followed by description of goods, எவ்வளோ quantity, what is the value of the goods, discount if any, rate of tax, place of supply. Why place of supply is important? I'm sorry, today somehow feeling a little more tired than regular day. I don't know why. I'm sorry for that. Place of supply along with the state information. Why that is important is just whether it is an intra-state supply or interstate supply. To decide that, can we decide based on place of supply, sir? Yes, we can decide based on place of supply. In case goods is going to be delivered in different location or a different place of supply, then that address on delivery. Again, whether tax payable on reverse charge applicable இல்லையான்னு ஒரு information கேட்பாங்க. Followed by if the assessee has electronic digital signature, he can digitally sign and issue an invoice, electronic invoice. Otherwise, manually sign the invoice and send it. QR code is applicable. இப்படி வாங்க, இதுதான் உங்க இன்வாய்ஸோட மாடல். நான் திருப்பி சொல்றேன், இப்படிதான் இருக்கணும்னு யாருமே சொல்லல. இங்க இருக்கிற இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் எல்லாம் அங்க கேப்சர் ஆயிருக்கு. சப்ளையர் GST நம்பர், நேம் அண்ட் அட்ரஸ் ஆஃப் சப்ளையர், ஸ்டேட் கோடு, recipient name, address, GST number, okay, where the goods are going to be delivered, that place, location, address, place of supply. To decide location of supplier and place of supply same state, intra-state supply. Location of supplier and place of supply different state, then it becomes what? Interstate supply. Other check பண்ணிக்கலாம். Reverse charge, yes or no. Majority of the time they will say what? Reverse charge, no. Why? Because under forward charge it will be applicable. யாராவது ஒருத்தர் ரெண்டு பேருக்கு no, I will not sorry, as a supplier I will not pay tax, my recipient is liable to pay tax, means they will say reverse charge, yes. Let's say for example a company is a registered company, they provide a service but it is liable for reverse charge, then they will say yes, reverse charges. At that time supplier in his tax invoice will not charge invoice, recipient will charge invoice. 99% reverse charge known da varum, ena forward charge mechanism. Serial number, description of goods, HSN number, quantity, unit rate, discount value, arrival number, sign it or fix a digital signature, sign it and send it. This is about your components of tax invoice. Let me repeat, components of a tax invoice. True? Yes. So there are absolutely no differences between your what to say. If you see, all the requirement of rule 46 would be fitted in this sample invoice. Okay, idea is very simple. இதுல இருக்கிற கண்டென்ட் எல்லாம் வரணுங்க. அதை எங்க போடுவீங்க அதெல்லாம் உங்க விருப்பம். where it will be located, that and all you plan, but this content has to be brought in, this numbers, this information. In case if somebody buy more than 50,000 rupees, asking his place of address information, whenever the place of goods going to be delivered and the place where the bill is raised, if that is different, then asking the respective addresses of delivery. All this becomes your components of a tax invoice. I would make only one request here. Somehow I'm feeling little uncomfortable. I don't know why, in spite of a small short break, which I consciously want to take. If you all permit me, can we wind up today's discussion at this level and take up tomorrow the books and accounts and close it? I do understand it will create all those challenges to you, but pardon me, somehow I'm pushing myself, but I'm not able to make it up. So with all your acceptances, I'll do one thing. We'll wind up today's discussion at this level. Okay, any questions if you have? Yes, we would take it up at this time. Yes. Yes,
சார் ஒரே ஒரு டவுட் சார், இது கவர்மெண்ட் பாடிஸ்க்குலாம் வந்து ஜிஎஸ்டிஐ நம்பரா இல்ல யூஐஎன்னா சார்?
கவர்மெண்ட் பாடிலாம் என்ன மாதிரி கவர்மெண்ட் பாடிமா?
இல்ல சார், கவர்மெண்ட் நார்மலாவே கவர்மெண்ட் பாடிஸ்க்குலாம் என்ன சார்?
இல்ல, கவர்மெண்ட் பேன் இருக்காதுமா. கவர்மெண்ட் சப்ளை ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ் பண்ணா எக்ஸம்ட் ஆயிடும். அதனால படிப்பீங்க, அதனால அவங்களுக்கு நீட் இருக்காது ஜெனரலா.
சரி, ஏன்னா அந்த ஆர்சிஎம்ல வந்து இம்மூவபிள் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி ரெண்ட் பண்ணா வந்து இவங்க தான், ஐ மீன் இது ரெசிபியன்ட் தான் வந்து டாக்ஸ் கட்டுற மாதிரி இருக்கும் சார். இப்போ அது வந்து இண்டிவிஜுவலுக்கு அவங்க ரெண்ட் பண்ணியிருந்தா எப்படி சார்?
யாரு?
கவர்மெண்ட்.
கவர்மெண்ட் பில்டிங் இண்டிவிஜுவலுக்கு ரெண்ட் பண்ணாதே.
ஓ இல்ல சார், ஏதாவது நார்மலாவே இண்டிவிஜுவலுக்கு அந்த கேஸ் வராது சார், இண்டிவிஜுவலுக்கு ரெண்ட் பண்றாங்க.
ஆஹா, அதர் அப்படியே பண்ணாலும் அது எக்ஸம்ப்டட்னு ஒரு இடத்துல வந்துருது. கவர்மெண்ட் இண்டிவிஜுவலுக்கு ஏதாவது ஒரு சர்வீஸ் பண்ணாங்கன்னா அது எக்ஸம்ப்டட்னு ஒரு என்ட்ரியில சொல்லிடுவாங்க. எக்ஸம்ப்டட் சர்வீசஸ் படிக்கும் போது உங்களுக்கு இந்த டவுட் கிளாரிஃபை ஆயிடும்.
சரி, தேங்க் யூ
சார்.
எஸ்பா
சார்.
சொல்லுப்பா.
சார், இந்த கேஷுவல் டாக்ஸபிள் பர்சன்ல அடிஷனல் அமௌண்ட் பே பண்றோம்ல சார்?
ஆமாப்பா.
அது வந்து இப்போ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் எக்ஸ்டென்ஷன்லயே பே பண்ணணுமா இல்ல செகண்ட் டைம் அந்த மாதிரி தானா சார்?
இல்ல நீங்க ஒரு ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணுவீங்க. அந்த ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது அடிஷனல் அமௌண்ட் கட்டுவீங்க.
ஓ சரி, ஓகே.
இதோட
இல்ல நம்ம
முடியாது.
ஃபர்ஸ்ட்
ஒரு ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணணும். அந்த ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது அந்த அடிஷனல் அமௌண்ட் கட்டுவோம்.
அதான் நம்ம ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எக்ஸ்டென்ஷனுக்கே அந்த அடிஷனல் அமௌண்ட் நம்ம பண்ணணுமா சார்?
இல்ல. நீங்க திருப்பி புரிஞ்சுக்கல. நீங்க வந்து ஒரு 10 நாள் டைம் கேட்கற.
ஆமா சார்.
அன்னைக்கு 5 லட்ச ரூபாய் சேல்ஸ் ப்ரொஜெக்ட் பண்ற. 5 லட்ச ரூபாய்க்கான டாக்ஸ கட்டிடுற. சரியா?
ஓகே சார்.
ஆஃப்டர் அட்ஜஸ்டிங் ஐடிசி.
ஓகே சார்.
இது ஃபர்தரா என்ன ஆகுது, எப்படி எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் ஆகுது அப்படின்னா, லெட்ஸ் சே 10 நாள் 8வது நாள் உங்களுக்கு தோணுது இன்னொரு 10 நாள் பிசினஸ் இங்க கண்டினியூ பண்ணலாமோன்னு. அப்ப என்ன பண்ணுவீங்கன்னா 8வது நாள் போயிட்டு எனக்கு இன்னும் 15 நாளைக்கு டைம் கொடுங்கன்னு சொல்லுவீங்க. ஓகே.
ஓகே சார். ஓகே.
8வது நாளே உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் நீங்க 6 லட்ச ரூபாய்க்கு குட்ஸ் வித்தாச்சுன்னு.
ஓ ஓகே சார்.
ஓகே. அப்ப என்ன பண்ணுவீங்கன்னா அந்த அடுத்த 15 நாள் டைம் கேக்குறீங்கல்ல, அப்போ
ஆமா சார்.
அடுத்த 15 நாளோட சேல்ஸ ப்ரொஜெக்ட் பண்ணி தான் டாக்ஸ் கட்டுவீங்க.
ஆமா சார்.
கரெக்டா?
எஸ் சார்.
ஆனா இந்த முதல் 10 நாள்ல அடுத்த 2 நாள் பெருசா சேல் ஆகல, அந்த 6 லட்ச ரூபாயோட நிக்குதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க.
ஓகே.
இந்த முதல் 10 நாளைக்கு ஒரு ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணணும்.
ஓ ஓகே சார்.
இல்ல இந்த 10 நாள் பிளஸ் அடுத்த 15 நாள், இந்த 25 நாளைக்கு சேர்த்து ஒரு ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணணும்.
ஓகே சார்.
அந்த ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது தான் அந்த 5 லட்ச ரூபாய்க்கும் 6 லட்ச ரூபாய்க்கு இருக்கிற அது 1 லட்ச ரூபாய் இருக்குல்ல, அதுக்கு டாக்ஸ் கட்டுவீங்க. எஸ்டிமேட்டட் சேல்ஸ்க்கும் ஆக்சுவல் சேல்ஸ்க்கும் உள்ள டிஃபரன்ஷியல் அமௌண்ட், அந்த டிஃபரன்ஷியல் டாக்ஸ ஜிஎஸ்டி ரிட்டர்ன் ஒன்னு ஃபைல் பண்ணுவீங்க. ஓகே. ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது தான் டாக்ஸ் கட்டுவீங்க. இங்க அடிஷனல் அமௌண்ட்னு சொல்றது உங்களுக்கு எக்ஸ்டென்ஷன் கொடுக்கறேன்ல.
ஆமா சார்.
இன்னும் 15 நாள் பிசினஸ் பண்ணுனேன். இன்னும் 15 நாள் பிசினஸ் நான் இன்னும் 10 லட்ச ரூபாய் பண்ணுவீங்கல்ல.
ஆமா சார். ஆமா சார்.
அந்த 10 லட்ச ரூபாய்க்கான டாக்ஸ் தான் அடிஷனல் அமௌண்ட்.
ஓ ஓகே சார். ஓகே சார். நான் என்ன நினைச்சேன்னா இந்த
எனக்கு தெரியும்
பர்மிஷனுக்காக கொடுக்குறோம்.
இல்ல பர்மிஷன் இல்ல, இந்த எக்ஸ்டெண்டட் பீரியடோட ப்ரொஜெக்ஷன் திருப்பி உங்களுக்கு அந்த சேல்ஸே அச்சீவ் ஆகலன்னா நீங்க சொல்லலாம், சார் நான் வந்து ஏற்கனவே 8-10 லட்ச ரூபாய்க்கு டாக்ஸ் கட்டிருக்கேன், 8 நாள்ல நான் 3 லட்ச ரூபாய் தான் வித்திருக்கேன், அதனால தான் நான் எக்ஸ்டென்ஷனே கேக்குறேன் அப்படின்னு கூட சொல்லலாம்.
ஓ ஓகே ஓகே சார்.
புரியுதா இந்த லாஜிக்?
எஸ் சார். எஸ் சார்.
மூவ் ஆகும். இது பிசினஸ் பொறுத்து தான்.
ஓகே, தேங்க் யூ சார்.
சார்
thank you all for effective and patient listening.
சார்
சொல்லுமா.
இது இப்போ நீங்க சொன்னீங்கல்ல சார், பில் ஆஃப் சப்ளை அந்த இதுல வந்து காம்போஷன் லெவி எடுத்துக்கிற பர்சன்ஸ் எல்லாம் பத்தி சொன்னீங்க. அவங்க அப்பதான் வந்து பில் ஆஃப் சப்ளை இஷ்யூ பண்ணுவாங்கன்னு சொல்லி, அதுல 200 less than 200 இருக்க ருபீஸ்ன்னு சொல்லி ஒன்னு சொன்னீங்கல்ல சார், அது வந்து அக்ரிகேட் அந்த டேயோட டோட்டலுக்கு ஒரு இன்வாய்ஸ் இஷ்யூ பண்ணா போதும்னு. அது வந்து டாக்ஸபிள் கூட்ஸுக்குமா இல்ல
எல்லா குட்ஸுக்குமே எல்லா டாக்குமெண்ட்டுக்குமே பில் ஆஃப் சப்ளையா இருந்தாலும் அந்த 200 அப்ளை ஆகும், டாக்ஸ் இன்வாய்ஸா இருந்தாலும் 200 அப்ளை ஆகும். 200 ரூபாய்க்கு கீழே பொருள் வாங்கினீங்கன்னா இன்வாய்ஸ் ஒரு டிரான்சாக்ஷனுக்கும் இன்வாய்ஸ் இஷ்யூ பண்ணணும்ன்றது மேண்டேட்டரி கிடையாது.
ஓகே ஓகே. thank you sir.
thank you sir.
thank you.
Thank you sir.
நன்றி.
Thank you sir.